Well, I was confident that Rupert Lowe and the alt-right Tommy Robinson supporters on X, weren't much of a benefit to us. I was confident about that. I was confident it was the right thing to do. I knew it would dent us in the short term, but no more than dent us.
Oh, do you remember those heady days of last July where we had so much hope in the Reform UK famous five? There they were before that ego-mad chairman, Zia Youssef, decided to report Rupert Lowe to the police as the party then tacked increasingly to the centre. But today, at Parliament, a big moment. A surging Reform returned to their original numbers with new Runcorn and Halsby MP Sarah Poochen now part of the gang. And look, I congratulate her, and I guess we're all just meant to forget, right, that she's an ex-Tory, refugees welcome, pro-trans type of gal. Let's just push that to the back of mind, and I am happy for her, I really am. But I guess that happiness might have been easier if Nigel Farage hadn't used GB News' VE Day coverage to go nuclear. Nuclear on his employer and chairman Youssef, but also, and this is what I had an issue with, the rest of the so-called online right led by Rupert and Ben Habib.
Just a few weeks ago, Nigel, with all of the furore around Rupert Lowe, people were saying, this is it, this is going to be, this isn't just a dent in the Reform Party, this is going to destroy the Reform Party. And over the weekend, people were saying, Rupert who? Yeah. It doesn't appear to have made any sort of impact, despite the best efforts of Andrew Pearce with his journalistic expertise.
Even though I work here, I'm going to be critical of GB News. GB News covered this story obsessively, as if it was some huge story.
It's all his fault.
And it was never a huge story. It was one person who had increasingly been heading in a different direction from
your chairman made it a big story by calling in the police.
Well, he did do that.
Do you think that was a good idea? Nigel Farage, I'm going to challenge you.
I'll pass on that.
There we are.
I'll pass on that.
It was a bizarre decision for Zia Youssef to call in the police.
But it was only ever going to be one person. And the upshot of this, what it really tells you is that X is not the real world.
Yeah. Correct. Twitter as it was now.
Twitter as it was is not the real world. So, when you get problems in life, the best thing is to confront them.
Would you have him back now in the party, Rupert Lowe, after all of this? Ben Habib, is there a way back for Ben?
Over my dead body.
Well, he wrote a piece saying you didn't deserve your victory. Did you see it?
I mean, I'm sorry, you get these small, very insignificant people who
say what you think, Nigel.
Who think they're more important than they are. They're frankly nothings. There you are.
Yeah.
And I don't mind people sounding off. I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I never have done. As long as there's some fundamental underlying loyalty. And that's the one thing I demand.
Yeah. You just...
Small, insignificant, frankly nothings. Oh, my goodness. But look, he can't describe Tommy Robinson as a small, insignificant, frankly nothing, can he? So instead, what Nigel Farage decided to do was attack Tommy Robinson and his supporters. And remember, this is at a time that Tommy Robinson remains locked up as a political prisoner at HMP Woodhull. I would hope that's all any politician on the right would want to talk about. But instead, Nigel dismissed Tommy and his supporters as alt-right. Now, this is a term that the Daily Telegraph actually used against me a couple of weeks ago, which is outrageous because this is a term that actually means white nationalists. Listen.
Were you confident, Nigel, all the time throughout that process that it was going to go that way?
Of course. Well, I was confident that Rupert Lowe and the alt-right Tommy Robinson supporters on X, weren't much of a benefit to us. I was confident about that. I was confident it was the right thing to do. I knew it would dent us in the short term, but no more than dent us. But, look at the image of the party now. We now have two very prominent women in the party. We have...
So Andrea Jenkins is the mayor of Lincolnshire.
Andrea Jenkins and Sarah Poochen. So we have two prominent women now amongst the sort of top half a dozen team in the party. We have a chairman who's a very brilliant man, Zia Youssef.
Despite calling in the police.
Do you know what? When you do as much as... It's all well and it's easy for journalists. Just sit in the back.
You wouldn't have done it. You wouldn't have done it.
All you lot do is chuck bricks.
You wouldn't have done it.
When you're someone at the front line doing stuff, you do 100 things. You might get one wrong. So we've got and who happens to be a member of the ethnic minorities. Not that that's why he's there. I think the whole look at reform is very, very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different. So, no, did we do the right thing over Rupert Lowe? You bet.
Now, I can actually reveal that Tommy Robinson is devastated about Nigel's latest broadside, especially given his solitary predicament and the fact he endorsed Reform UK at the last election. Now, when I last saw him behind bars, this is before you had to sign an NDA or anything like that, in December, he pleaded with Farage via me to stop bad-mouthing him. And that remains his position today. Tommy Robinson simply cannot understand why Nigel Farage spends more time attacking him and spreading false smears, like, remember, claiming on LBC he was violence against women, rather than attacking the real enemy, the hard left. Now, Tommy's team also posted on this, saying a new day, and Nigel Farage decides to try and blacken Tommy Robinson's name on live TV. The F is this guy's problem. Rape gangs in the media again, and he starts this yet again. Who's pulling the strings here? Never mistake protest votes against the failing uni party for actual confidence in leadership or policy. Boris made that mistake, and it cost the Conservatives dearly. Starmer has made the same mistake. Stick to the issues people want addressing. Honour your promises made to your base. Nigel Farage, stick to that, rather than perpetuating political platitudes on television to feed your ego. Our country is far more important than your self-aggrandizement or the Nigel Roadshow. Never lose sight of that. When people are forced to vote for syphilis, gonorrhea, or the flu, people will vote for the flu because it's the lesser of the three contagions. Be better and do better by the British people. It's the very least you can do. A powerful message, and one that I don't at all disagree with. By the way, there are other sound figures on the right too who have been just as baffled by Nigel's decision to keep a row going on the right rather than try to use his historic video to bring us all together. So GB News host Nick Dixon, a colleague of Nigel Farage, remember, posted, "Reform achieved a great victory, but it's odd that they are now following the same diversity obsession as all the other parties, totally capitulating to the left's framing as if it's inevitable. And obviously the claim they did the right thing with Rupert Lowe is absurd." What about Harrison Pitt of the New Culture Forum, who added, "Farage seems to be incapable of running counterfactuals. Reform are riding high because the uni party has never been held in such widespread contempt. Does anyone seriously believe that they would be doing worse if they still had Rupert Lowe roaring on their behalf in the Commons and had chosen someone with the calibre of Ben Habib to stand for them in Runcorn? If anything, Reform would be doing better. They would have more people working in the increasingly influential digital ecosystem on side, while still appearing to Telegraph readers. Most importantly, they would also be attracting more of the kind of talent they will need if they wish to avoid being total flops in government." Yeah, I love that. And I have to say, what's been going on over this campaign made me long for our politicians in Britain to have the bravery of MAGA Republicans in the Trump era, because my God, we need it. So another example of this overnight. I want you to take a look at how the administration responded to an obvious example of anti-white racism from the despicable Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
It's disgusting, but this is something that you can see happening here, right? With Keir Starmer and all of the anti-white rhetoric that he pushed using the Netflix anti-white piece of propaganda, adolescents. So completely unafraid, the Vice President, the VP himself, JD Vance, the most senior figure fighting for free speech in the UK, by the way, posted, "This isn't just sick, it's actually genocidal language. What a disgrace this person is." And I want to see that sort of bravery from Reform UK, which has its first chance when it unveils its blueprint in the next month to deport illegal immigrants. So, by the way, that must include the 2 million who are already here in the UK. But the real problem for those on the right desperate for Nigel to outline a bold Trump-style vision for saving Britain is that he literally has no competition. The desperate Tories, can you believe this, trying to bring back Boris Johnson, while Slippery Starmer himself cannot even act respectfully during a VE Day national memorial. But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected online. But I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers, and I'm delighted to tell you I have a fail-safe solution. But what's more, this virtual private network, or VPN as it's known, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. So let me introduce you to Surfshark. I love it. It is an incredible, easy-to-use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activities stay safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond just keeping you safe online, because this app also allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows, channels, streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, Peacock, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Netflix, from anywhere, as if you're watching in another country. So it's a great way to get around all of those geo blocks. And if you're traveling for work or on holiday, you can also get all your favorite content from home, including sports, which is mega handy. It is also an insurance policy against censorship in so many countries, like Outspoken viewers who've been emailing me saying we cannot watch you on Rumble in France, which has blocked that service for so long now. Surfshark allows you to watch anything, anytime, anywhere. It is true freedom. A VPN can also save you money because you get the best deals from websites that change their prices depending on where you are buying from. And there are other benefits of Surfshark too. You can use it on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. There are over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, meaning a world of choices at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service available too. That's really handy, by the way, if it is your first time using a VPN. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. And what's more, this is really cool. Surfshark's so confident it's the best VPN in the world. I can vouch for the fact that it is, that it will give you a try for a full 40 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now back to the show.
See the celebrations from a completely different perspective, and they joined those street celebrations.
Just shut up, man. Shut up. That is not the moment. Queen Camilla was disgusted. As Stephen Barrett posted, how hard is it to sit still and show some respect to our fallen? So I have to say, I did love this meme. I did love this meme. Look at that. He was probably asking the annoyed Queen if she watched Adolescence on Netflix. Look, our politics is not serious or competitive at the moment, and I fear that is giving a window for Nigel Farage to continue moving to the centre ground. But to respond now, let me bring in today's superstar panel. And I am so excited to have on Outspoken for the first time Anne McElhinney, and returning...
Hello.
For the first, returning again, for another appearance, Bernie Spofforth of If This Is True. So, Bernie, what did you make of Tommy Robinson saying, it's almost like what, do you remember what Will Smith said to Chris Rock at the Oscars just before he punched him? Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. And I think that's how Tommy Robinson feels like, why are you attacking me? Like, what is the motivation behind this? Like, this was totally out of nowhere. You just throwing this alt-right smear on GB News.
I think the problem that Nigel has got is that his hard work is mountainous in front of him, because he's made some really big sweeping promises and he has to keep some of those promises. And I just don't even know how he's going to do that. And Tommy Robinson is a really easy hit for him that he thinks, because he wants to keep the media on side, he wants to stay in this central position so that he can get on the BBC, so he can get on Sky, which is bizarre to me, because if he's anything like Trump, he'll tell them he's not interested anyway and just speak to the people who want to hear what he has to say. Tommy Robinson is a very divisive figure amongst some parts of the UK. Amongst others, he's had a lot to say that frankly has proved to be correct. Also, it's incredibly unfair to kick a man consistently when he's in prison and in solitary confinement. I don't know if Tommy Robinson wrote that, because it sounds very articulate to me, and I'm not sure if he's able to be that articulate. But somebody has written that for him.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was written by his team, but the briefing that I received was via someone who has seen Tommy Robinson over the past few days and said specifically he just wants Nigel to stop slagging him off.
Of course,
and actually, he's in the Katie Hopkins position. Like, Tommy Robinson still actually believes that, as it stands, Reform UK remains the best option for the United Kingdom. Now, why would Nigel purposefully want to goad him when that is his position? It's just weird to me. And goad his supporters, by the way, who number in their many millions.
Because it's almost like he's protesting too much. Right? He's protesting too much. We know you don't want to be framed as alt-right, Nigel, but don't be worried about that. Nobody cares. No one knows what far right is anymore anyway. In fact, I heard the other day that if you went to church, you were far right. You know, it's a slur that
Apparently,
is meaningless.
If you eat protein,
now.
You're now far right.
Exactly. So it's a meaningless slur, and it isn't useful to Nigel. I also agree that in order to get any kind of political revolution in this country, in order to tackle the quangos, the blob, the civil service that quite frankly run every government, then we need people to be very, very brave. And now's the time for Nigel to be brave and to say, I don't want to talk about Tommy Robinson. It's too easy to kick a man when he's down. And I don't think
he wasn't even asked.
I don't think he should.
But that's my issue. He wasn't even asked. The GB News presenters didn't even bring up Tommy Robinson. They don't talk about Tommy Robinson on GB News. They view him as too radioactive, so they don't ever try and bring him into the conversation. That's what's so interesting. It was like Nigel Farage almost offered up Tommy Robinson's head on a platter. It's like, he's in solitary confinement for a piece of journalism. He is a political prisoner. That is all you should be talking about in regards to Tommy Robinson at the moment. But look, I want to bring in Anne McElhinney, my new friend. We actually met, didn't we, Anne, just a few weeks ago for the first time on the Mark Stein cruise, which was an incredible experience, wasn't it? Full of lots of freedom fighters. And we're going to be talking about your brilliant work at the Unreported Story Society later on in the show. But Anne, obviously you know so much about the United Kingdom and Ireland. However, you are now based in Los Angeles. So what is it like for you looking over here, seeing what's happening compared to the bravery that you see in the MAGA movement? And I should say, by the way, Anne is very much, I guess, part of, well, I don't know if you describe yourself as part of it, but you were behind the movie My Son Hunter, in which Lawrence Fox starred as Hunter Biden, and Donald Trump was a big supporter of.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, watching what's going on in the UK, I mean, I suppose I'm kind of tired of having my heart broken by conservatives in the UK. I mean, I was a huge, I loved Boris, right? I was all in, and I thought, wow, we have this moment, right? He swept the boards. He owned everything. He owned the whole thing. And what did he do with it? And I think one of the things that's interesting is I think the electorate don't understand, or politicians don't understand that those votes that they receive, it's not a lifetime thing. They get them loaned to them. And it's a loan that's conditional on doing the work. And Boris was such an almighty disappointment. And I have to say, this recent development with Nigel Farage, I'm really, really disappointed. But I'm getting really tired of being disappointed. And obviously, we're feeling a little bit smug over here because we have Trump, who's not disappointing us at all. But he did disappoint us the first time. Don't forget that. He never built the wall, right? So we can't get too smug. But things are looking
but I
rather
think
good
he's
as the
learned
executive orders.
so much, hasn't he,
Yes.
from the first administration? And how great to see JD Vance having the bravery to just call out the sick congresswoman and say, you're an anti-white racist. Like, this language is genocidal. And I love that bravery because it is. It absolutely is. And why should we just accept anti-white racism? And that's my problem. I sometimes feel like Nigel is still falling into the old mainstream media tropes of things you sort of have to say so that people don't accuse you of being something. And it's like, Nigel, they're still going to accuse you of being racist. They're still going to accuse you of being far right. They're never going to accept you.
Yeah, you're never going to be part. You're never getting invited to the party, Nigel, whether you like it or not.
Stop trying.
And you can try and be
at the party.
That's right. And that's exactly the same with Boris. That was exactly what Boris was like. There was this feeling of, if I'm good, if I mention a bit of DEI, like Nigel talking about this two women, shut up about that already, stop with that already, and this thing of, and the other guy, he's from an ethnic minority. Oh God, shut up. We're so bored of that. Does he realize who he's talking to?
Exactly. We love Andrea Jenkins, who, by the way, has been sworn in today, right now, as the Lincolnshire mayor. We love her, not because she's a woman, but because she's an incredible politician who says exactly what the public think, who isn't afraid, who takes the mainstream media on, and in the case of illegal migrants has said, we're going to house them in tents because there has to be a deterrent. Now, that's why we love her. I don't give a damn that she's a woman.
Yeah.
And it's like Sarah Pochin, sorry, just saying, I'm concerned because I'm like, well, you were all pro-trans and you were all pro-refugees welcome. So, like, great that you're a woman, but if your positioning isn't right, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like, actually, it's an interesting parallel with this, conclave that's happening now in the Vatican.
Yes, it's just started.
It's so interesting how it's just started today, I think. And so basically, what's really interesting is liberals, look at the landscape there and think, and they're like, well, no one's going to vote for this black guy from Africa, this Cardinal Sarah. And it's like, yeah, read the room. Everyone wants Cardinal Sarah to win and become the Pope. And no one notices that he's black. No one notices that he's from Africa. Maybe it's a bit of a bonus or whatever. But really, everyone is focused on what he's saying and that he's, talking about traditional values. It's so interesting. Like, it's like, so all these racist, conservatives, the guy that they really want, their preferred candidate for the Pope, is this black guy from Africa. And that's because of what he says, what he represents, what he's going to bring, to the Catholic Church. And it's exactly the same. So Nigel Farage doing this, oh God, mentioning this stuff is just, it's cringeworthy. It's, my stomach just churns. And I've had pints, by the way. I've met Nigel Farage and I've many, many pints, by the way. He's a great drinker, and I appreciate that as an Irish person, We're not all alcoholics, but but we're getting there. And I just, he was great fun and all of that, but this is disappointing. And as I said, I'm really tired of having my heart broken by conservatives who end up with this same old chat.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.